Hey parents, before we start today's episode, I have exciting news. We're hosting a podcast pop-up where you can interact with the resources and guests featured here in real life. It's the second annual Podcast-a-Palooza, and it's free to attend. There will be a live animal presentation by Animal Tales and food trucks like Bam Snowballs, Kip's Hot Dogs, and Melt Pensacola. Plus, one lucky guest will win a $250 Amazon gift card. So mark your calendar for Saturday, February 1st, 2025, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at Booker T. Washington High School. We'll see you there.
None of that money would be spent where you and I are sitting today in our administrative complex. The half-cent sales tax, those dollars are only going to be spent at a school site where students sit day in and day out.
Welcome to the Voices United in Education podcast. Each week, we showcase the teachers, administrators, and community members who go the extra mile to contribute to the success of every student in Escambia County. You'll meet the real people behind the titles and learn about the amazing resources to support every student's success. While many of us are more than okay spending our time mindlessly scrolling social media, when it comes to our money, we want to know it's well spent, especially if it's money promised for our kids. Since 1997, the half-cent sales tax has been a consistent revenue source for major school projects and upgrades, producing approximately $40 million a year. My next guest is the Escambia County Public Schools Superintendent, and today we're going to talk about what the half-cent sales tax has done for students, why it seems to have so much support, and how it can and cannot be used. All in for kids, Tate High graduate, leading from the front, Mr. Keith Leonard.
Thank you, Meredith.
Yeah, thanks for being here. I'm glad that you're here again. It's always good to talk. And I'm actually going to kick it off by asking you to put on your social studies teacher hat.
No problem.
If that's okay.
Yeah.
And have you explain kind of like the historical context behind this referendum and, you know, how and why it came about.
Yeah. Well, in the mid-90s, our school board, and they did this in a positive way, realized that we were not going to get the funding from the state to be able to do what we needed to do to keep our school facilities updated in the manner in which would be appropriate for our students, our teachers, and everyone else that are trying to educate our 37,000 students. So they came up with this idea when referendums were allowed to create funding sources in order to renovate, build, take on technology projects for a school district. There's what's called PICO dollars that come from the state, and they basically dried up to zero. So our schools that were built in 1945 would have continued to be the schools today that were built in 1945. Finally, in 1996, that referendum went to our citizens. It was overwhelmingly popular. And so in 1997, that vision came to reality. And since that time, our citizens have continued to pass that referendum, and we've been able to do all types of projects at our schools since that time.
So without this money, would there literally be no resources for improvements and big projects?
Yeah, there would be zero. So all you would be doing is repairing your vehicle. You would never have the opportunity to get a new vehicle, and going from a 100,000-mile car to a 400,000-mile car, you can imagine the problems and the issues that you would have with that vehicle. So we've been very excited each and every year and just overwhelmingly happy with what our citizens have been able to do through their tax dollars to help us keep the school district in fine fashion.
So here's kind of another social studies-esque question is when I think about, you know, students and how they feel about school and how that maybe is correlated to the condition of the school, I wonder, I speculate if there's, you know, a connection there between like having a school that is nice and like wanting to go to school. I mean, you've been in education for a long time. Am I making that up, or is there truth to that?
There is truth to that. You're spot on. You know, when you get that brand new house, I know when my wife and I in 1995 were able to get our first home, we did everything we could day in and out, month in, month out, year in, year out to keep it feeling new because you felt proud about where you were and what you'd been able to accomplish to buy that new home. This half-cent sales tax makes our students feel happy. It makes them feel warm when they walk into that brand new school or that school that's been renovated with those half-cent tax dollars.
I imagine the teachers too.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And morale is so important
it does
from
help.
The top down because then it helps the students feel like, I'm glad I'm here and my teacher's excited I'm here.
And that's a little bit burdensome during that renovation period. But yeah, it does uplift the morale of teachers, the community, parents. You want to be proud of what they walk into and where they see their students being educated day in and day out.
So what kind of projects can people drive around Escambia County and point to and go, that is because of the half-cent sales tax?
Yeah. We had a high school. Really, it was a K-12 school at one time up in the north end of the county, Ernest Ward. It is now Ernest Ward Middle School. And there's a brand new school there at Ernest Ward, A.K. Suter on the southeast side of town. It was a really good elementary school, but it was an old building, the half-cent sales tax. With that money, we were able to build a brand new state-of-the-art elementary school on the southeast side of town. So
I've been in that building.
Yeah,
it is beautiful.
Yeah.
It is. You just walk around with your mouth open because it's so nicely laid out and the lobby makes sense and the security setup, how you walk into the lobby and then there's like glass doors. You can't just bypass the person at the front desk.
You're right. There have been a lot of technology needs that have occurred in a very short period of time, specifically as it relates to security. There's another school similar to A.K. Suter that is brand new now. For many, many, many years, we had Pleasant Grove Elementary School. There is now a brand new Pleasant Grove Elementary School because of the half-cent sales tax with up-to-date technology and unbelievable security measures have been put into that school. There's a renovation going on right now at Ferry Pass Middle School. There's a renovation going on right now at Pensacola High School. And if we were counting on PICO dollars, like I had talked about earlier, none of those construction projects would have been able to occur. O.J. Sims is an elementary school with us right now, or they just finished up the renovation project at that particular site.
So there's a lot.
Since 1997, a lot of really good things have happened on our campuses.
Tell me about the bathrooms.
Okay, so at O.J. Sims Elementary School, one of the things that we really needed to correct and had this funding to be able to do so, in today's time, you can't just think about reading, math, science as it relates to a facility. You've got to really take into account what you're doing from a security standpoint to make that school as safe as it can possibly be. Well, Sims was an old elementary school, and it had the outer halls that led to the bathroom. So a student would have to leave the classroom, whether they were in kindergarten, first grade, or fifth grade, walk down a long hallway and go to a community restroom. People may remember those from their college days when they were in their dorm, they had to get out of the room and walk down the hall. Well, that's really not a safe way to be able to transient a campus, and particularly just to go to the restroom. So with the renovations at O.J. Sims, we were able to put a restroom in between two classrooms, and we were able to do that throughout the entire school. So not only was it more convenient for the students, it was an enhanced security measure that we were able to do because of our citizens and that half-cent sales tax.
That is such an innovative thought. I wish I had that because also you miss a lot of time when you have to leave the classroom to use the toilet. So you're saying it's kind of like a Jack and Jill. One door goes to one classroom and the other it goes to another? Correct.
Yep. There's two classrooms side by side. Between those two classrooms, there's an office area that could also be used in case we needed to evacuate students from the classroom to a safe space. Teachers can use that many, many times. There'll be a copier or at least 2 to 3 desks in there for individual instruction. And then also in between those two classrooms is a restroom.
Wow, that's so cool.
Right.
So I think when we talk about allocation of funds and everyday people who have worked in an office, they all know someone who got a hold of the corporate credit card and suddenly was having very nice lunches and like 2 lattes a day and all of that sort of thing. With this half-cent sales tax referendum being so widely popular, how can we be sure that the money is being well spent?
Right. Well, one of the things that our citizens can be comfortable with is what our school board and our district administration did not very long after the passage of that first referendum for the half-cent sales tax. They put together what's called the half-cent sales tax watchdog committee. That committee is made up of 9 representatives. 5 of them are selected by each board member. So there's a member of that committee that is from each school board district. And then there's 4 other members. There's a couple of our district staff that help work through the different issues with that committee. But those 9 members of the half-cent watchdog committee, they know what that referendum said that we would spend our citizens' tax dollars on. So they meet quarterly. They have the budget and they have the expense roster sitting right there in front of them each time they meet, and they're able to vet where every half cent has been spent. And that account is audited and then it is voted upon, and our citizens can see that since 1997 or not that long thereafter, every cent has been spent exactly, not kinda, but exactly the way we told our citizens we would spend their hard-earned tax money.
Are those people volunteers? Are they paid?
All volunteers from our community. There's business leaders, there's civic leaders. I believe one of the members is an HR staff member at the city of Pensacola with a lot of experience, not just dealing with people, but also dealing with facilities. It's a committee that our community can be very proud of, and that they hold our feet to the fire to make certain that we're spending every cent or half cent the way we told them we would.
Is that itemized spending list available to the public?
Absolutely.
That they could go back, on a rainy day if they're like, what should I read today? I think I want to read how the half-cent sales tax is being spent in my county.
Yeah, it's ready. It's available every day for them to be able to review it, vet against what we've done, where we've done it. And I think they would be amazed. And we've only talked about 6 or 7 of the projects that we've done with that money. One of the things that I think our community members should know, none of that money would be spent where you and I are sitting today in our administrative complex. The half-cent sales tax, those dollars are only going to be spent at a school site where students sit day in and day out.
That is surprising.
Yeah.
I think people would be surprised because usually the stereotype is the fancy corporate building, people, looking down from the ivory tower, but that's not the case.
That's not going to happen with your hard-earned tax dollars. In our school district, that's not going to happen.
Is it that committee that also helps prioritize the projects? Because in a county as old as ours, as you pointed out in the beginning, we had, did you say a school built in 1945?
Yes, ma'am.
We've got all these beautiful historic buildings, and we've also got salt air, right?
That's right.
So we have maybe different maintenance needs than a place that is not so close to the water, to the Gulf.
That's correct.
How are those projects prioritized?
Yeah. So the 2 of the people that assist with the half-cent sales tax watchdog committee is our assistant superintendent of operations, and our director of facilities is the second individual. And they're able to show the age of each campus building, or a auxiliary building on a specific campus. They're able to look to see what we've been able to do at Washington High School in the last 20 years versus what we've been able to do at Pensacola High School in the last 20 years. They will help build a priority listing. A 5-year plan goes to our school board each and every year, so it's 5 years out on what we're going to prioritize to do here in our school district. That's made available to the public. It's a publicly advertised meeting. It's submitted to the Department of Education. And our community members should be very, very thankful that we've been able to stick to that priority listing, and will continue to do so.
Does the priority listing shift, though, when things like hurricanes happen? Because, I mean, I feel like every hurricane season, we're wrapping up our hurricane season right now, and it's kind of like our lives feel a little on hold at different moments in time.
Sure. There was an event, a weather event, I think it was late last spring, that damaged some property, in particularly Pine Forest High School on the backside of that campus. There was a tornado that touched down on the backside of Longleaf Drive. So, yeah, that particular area back behind there were, I think, 2 auxiliary buildings and 1 full-fledged building. So, yeah, weather events are going to impact what we need to be able to do because we may need to do something more immediately. And with those funds being available, we are able to shift and prioritize where we need to.
So it's not earmarked in a way that's inflexible, in other words?
No, ma'am. In a school district, you better make it flexible. Go back to Hurricane Ivan, and there was millions on top of millions of dollars of damage done to our school district, and you don't get money back from FEMA. I think we were out 19 days, so immediately we had to spend some of those dollars to be able to do things to some schools so that we could get right back to going to school. And 19 days out of school is not necessarily right back, but a community doesn't really begin to thrive again until you can get students back in those seats in a school. And then that's when a community begins to thrive. So I appreciate you bringing it up. That's a really good point.
Yeah. And you said that the money cannot be spent or is not chosen to be spent on administrative building renovations. Is there any other example of how it cannot be spent that you want to highlight?
So it's going to be spent on student stations. It's going to be spent on school sites. It's going to be spent on technology resources. That is something that I want to say in the last referendum, the school district added. And that's really important because more and more things that we do in school are dependent upon what we can do from a technology perspective. A long time ago when I was in school, everything was in a book. Not everything's in a book anymore. As you know, we're very proud that in our school district, we were able to go 1-to-1 with technology devices with our students, whether it be a Chromebook or an iPad. The half-cent sales tax allows for us to be able to stay abreast of new technology and provide that technology to all of our students. The main thing our citizens need to know, the only way we're going to spend that money is what's listed in that referendum. It'll spell it out right in the referendum. The schools are going to be the recipients of that money, and there's going to be a watchdog committee keeping a close eye that we do exactly what we say we're going to do.
I love that. This seems like a no-brainer in so many ways, and obviously it's received a lot of overwhelming support. I think I read like 70% or something last time the referendum was updated. Are there any notable oppositions to this? Is there any pushback of why people might not want that?
Yeah, I don't think there's any pushback or opposition right here in our school district and our school community. But sometimes as voters, you get referendum fatigue or amendment fatigue. And if you've looked at your sample ballot on all the different amendments that are coming forth this particular general election, what we hope is that people, they need to vote however they see fit. But when they see that referendum from the school district, that they keep that approval rating in their mind, and they ride down the road and they see a brand new Ernest Ward or a brand new Pleasant Grove. They know that's what their tax dollar, their half-cent tax dollars went to do here in Escambia County. It doesn't have anything to do with Amendment 1, Amendment 4, Amendment 6. Vote your heart. Make sure you read through it and keep those half-cent sales tax dollars coming to your school district.
I think that's what makes platforms like podcasting special, that we can kind of unpack it and it doesn't have to be a 30-second commercial. You're not being quoted by somebody else. You're able to say, this is what is causing these improvements to be made. And then the citizens, the listeners can go out themselves and check out those improvements.
That's why you're in the top 10 in the country, right, with this podcast?
Exactly.
Because of the story you're able to tell each and every time you do a podcast about what's going on in our school district. We're very proud of what you do, and we appreciate it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Where can people go online to read more about this, how it works, and the projects that it's paid for?
I want to say a couple of weeks back, our director of facilities did a great article in the Pensacola News Journal. So you could go to the Pensacola News Journal and just search Half Cents Watchdog Committee or Half Cent Sales Tax here in the Escambia County School District. You can go to our school district website, just type in escambiaschools.org. Up in the very top, type in the search engine, type in half cent sales tax, and it'll take you to everything we've ever done with that with your money. So yeah, type it in and go in there and take a look.
Okay, that's perfect. I'll link those in the show notes too, so listeners can easily find them. Thank you again for coming back.
Yeah, it's my pleasure to have been here today with you, Meredith.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe and share. Voices United in Education is a production of Escambia County Public Schools.